Hello, I'm Dr. Flux, and today we will be building a Foxbat. Now, the Foxbat is a Sillybutts design of a rear T-pulled pistol that you can either build it out to be Talon or angled Talon. This blaster right here that we're building today is for the angled Talon variant. Now, if you'd like to pick up a fully assembled Foxbat from out of darts, we do carry those, or if you'd like to pick up a 3D printed kit or just a hardware kit, we also sell those. To do this build, you're gonna need the various tools: some pliers, super glue, slug slime, which comes in the hardware kit, a punch, some super lube, a Sharpie. We have a Phillips bit for our torque driver, a Phillips screwdriver, a number 1 Phillips bit, a number 1 Phillips screwdriver, M2.5 driver bit, and an M2.5 Allen key. Also, it's good to have a paper towel or something to clean up stuff when you're working with super lube or even super glue. With all that out of the way, let's jump right into it. First up, we're gonna put together the plunger. We start by grabbing the plunger head, put that in there. That is keyed. Then we're gonna put in an M3x30 screw. Next, with 2 M3x16 screws, we're gonna secure this. Now, as you can see, this is keyed. It goes right there. There's also an arrow right here, which take note of that. We'll talk about that more in a bit. Now we're gonna put on the large dash 123 O-ring. Now we're gonna make a mark on this shock pad. Like I said before, there is an arrow right here. And before we put on the shock pad, we're gonna line up the arrows. This will help us later for when we need to install this so that we know the catch is in the right direction. Also, it helps with spring swaps. So we line that up and stick it right on there. Next up, we're gonna assemble the turnaround. First, we take 2 016 O-rings and feed that in there. At this point, you can use the punch to try to finagle those in. Just kind of rub that on the sides, just make sure they're in there. And then we got the large dash 123, that just slides right on the top. And just to test, you can put your barrel in now and it should seat like so. Now we're gonna attach the cover onto the turnaround. This is done using M3x30 screws. And on a side note, whenever you're screwing into plastic, make sure to use a variable torque driver like this and put it on the lowest setting. Next, we're gonna go ahead and super glue on the ball detent into this hole. Just a tiny little dab, then just drop that in there. Now this is not needed, but I like to throw a little zip kicker on there and then wipe down the excess. Now we're gonna install the dart guide onto the turnaround using number 4 screws. When dealing with the number 4 screws, I prefer just a small number 1 screwdriver. Now we're going to install the trigger guard onto the turnaround using a number 4 screw. So your part looks like that. Now the Foxbat does not have a mag release. What it does have is a friction grip with detents. So let's go ahead and install 2 of them. Before we do that, I like to put a little drop of super glue. With those in place, we're going to drive down some number 4 screws. As you screw these in, make sure to press the ball detent to make sure you haven't pushed too far. At this step, I like to test to make sure everything feels good, that catches nicely. Now we're going to attach this onto the grip using 2 of the number 4 screws. Next, we're going to attach the plunger guide to the catch holder with 3 number 4 screws. Make sure to start with one side and then move across to the other side before you really tighten that one down. I found it helps getting this hole to line up. Now, something we've noticed with troubleshooting these builds in the past is this right here cannot have any layer lines, essentially. You need to make sure it's nice and smooth. In addition, I would actually recommend putting some slug slime on there too, just so it's a nice smooth catch. Next up, we're gonna put a little bit of lubrication on the sides and the face of this part. As you can see, there is a P on here and there's a P over here. Make sure to line those up. And then for the springs, we're gonna put these into here, turn them a little bit so it kind of captures it, and do the same for the other spring. And we're just gonna drop this in here. If you need, use a screwdriver or something to help fish that in there. Once you got those seated in the correct location, we're gonna put on the faceplate. This will lock it all in place. And just make sure you haven't wiped off any of that slug slime. I'm gonna put a little bit more on there and also a little bit on where the catch slides on there. And we just drive in 2 number 4 screws. And at this point, I like to just test to see that the catch is working. So go ahead and put that in there. Now, an issue that we found with the assembly on this blaster is sometimes when you get to this part, you'll get stuck right here. If that's the case, you just have to file down just a little bit on this side and on the actual catch. I recommend getting this sorted out before finishing the build, as this will just be a problem when you have the blaster put back together. So I usually just take a small file and just kind of knock this down a little bit. You can also take a look at this side, make sure there's no elephant's foot or any inconsistencies here. It's got to be a nice smooth surface. So when you're all done, it should be like this, nice and smooth. Now we're going to secure the barrel. Make sure it moves nice and freely. On the side here, we're going to drop in a square nut, and to capture that, we're going to use a number 4 screw. With that in place, you can go ahead and set in your M3x10 screw. And we don't have to crank this down real tight right now. Just turn it enough to where it doesn't fall out, but we'll be securing this in the right spot later. Now we're going to assemble the front block. First, we take our catch pusher, put that into place. Then you're going to take a pin, and if you need help, use a punch to push it all the way in, and it should move nice and freely like that. Now we're going to screw on the muzzle. It goes onto here, and we will be using 3 of the number 4 screws. And it should look like that. Now we're going to install a -1-2 O-ring onto the ram. Now we're going to install the ram onto the priming slide back. That goes right here, and it is held on with 4 number 4 screws. Now we're gonna screw the catch unit into the slide with 5 number 4 screws. Now we're gonna install the trigger linkage. First, we take the front end, put that down, and with the trigger yoke, we're gonna go ahead and line these holes up and drop in a pin. I think what I'm gonna do is actually put this on the pin. This is super lube, just to give it something to hold this from falling out. It should just slide in and then just let that seat like that. Now we're going to take the trigger linkage and feed that in there. This will get another pin right here like that. Now we're going to put on the rail. Now we can put this in. I'm actually going to do the same with this just to hold it from falling out. That will go right here. Then we can slide it all together and just make sure that spring is seated inside here. There should be a little point that captures the spring. And you can check to make sure the trigger works. Now let's go ahead and screw it together. And that is held on with 2 number 4 screws. Now we're gonna work on the face plates. Typically when you buy a 3D printed kit from us, it will be 1 continuous faceplate. For mine, I wanted to show how to do the 2-part faceplate. Very similar, it's just you can basically print this on a smaller printer, and then there is a locking piece that kind of holds this all together. We do have enough hardware provided in the kit to build either or. Now I'm gonna start by putting these together with 4 of the number 4 screws. And with 7 more screws, we're gonna secure the side panel. Should look like that. Now to prep the plunger tube. Now, all tubes that are purchased from Out of Darts, we do ream them out, but it's good practice to make sure there's no foreign material in here. And then we're gonna apply some slug slime. Put a good amount on that side, and I'm gonna go ahead and do it on the other side too. Use that plunger tube to kind of work the grease. And it looks like probably need a little bit more. I'm actually gonna put some on the plunger, a little more in here, and kind of work that in there. All right, now we're gonna attach the pistol grip onto here using 2 of the number 4 screws. We're gonna do the final assembly. I found if you take the plunger tube, kind of seat it right here, set that all in there, make sure that arrow is pointed up, slide this on here, and then we're basically gonna finagle this over down here, and then put on our side plate. This is gonna be held together by 11 of these number 4 screws. And then we flip it over and install 4 more of the number 4 screws. Now we're ready to install the barrel. Just slide that down, make sure it seats into the ram, and then we're gonna lock it in place. Now we're gonna go ahead and put some slug slime on the ram here. Now we're gonna take these 5 pins and sink them in here. This adds a little bit more integrity once we slide this all into place. Now we're gonna take these 2 big bolts. These are 1032s, and they're gonna get driven in all the way on each side. Let's see if I can use a driver for that, because that's a lot of work. Before I tighten it down, I'm gonna get the other side started, and let's finish up this side. Next up is the T-pull. So you can actually adjust which way you wanna do this. I prefer it to go this way. Then we drop a 1032 in, go ahead and put the cover on, and then that is held into place with 2 number 4s. Now we're gonna install this fiber optic into the sights. Just kind of put that on there. If it's a little bit snug, I just use some pliers to push it in. I actually like to get a nice flat surface with a razor. And that concludes the build of the Sillybutts Foxbat. Let's go ahead and test it while we're here. Great. If you'd like to pick up a kit, once again, head on over to Out of Darts. I'm Dr. Flux. I want to thank you for watching. Be safe and happy foam flinging.